vile drink in our chat. I don't know what the hell that was.
It reminded me of people being like, the perfect summer drink is Sprite and Grenache Blanc.
That makes me. I mean, at least I could see how you get to that. I don't know how you get to that thing.
I think TikTok got to that thing.
This is just people are bored and doing food stunts, and that's just not.
So hello, and I'm gonna say hello and welcome back to another episode of We Were Gamers. This is, where are we?
414?
414? 414. Nice palindromes.
Oh, you see?
It feels like it's always the palindrome episodes that I wind up getting.
I think so, yeah. Sweet and Condensed Milk, the podcast.
Ugh. I've still not gotten over the revulsion. So, for those of you living under a rock like we are, with the rest of the olds, apparently there is a TikTok trend this summer of mixing red wine and condensed milk.
And like sweetened condensed milk, even?
Yeah, so, sweetened condensed milk.
So it's like sugary and oh man.
Horrible.
I see how you get to this, right? You're like, oh, well, sangria is good. And then, like, you know, you work your way backwards. But then how do you decide that the thing it needs is milk? Like, that's the part that I don't get.
I think, so as I can see it as someone who has gotten through some bad red wine by mixing it with Coke, I can see that the idea is there.
Stop, back up. Train, halt. What is this?
You, if you ever have just like a bottle of cheap red wine that someone has opened or brought, this isn't a thing anymore in adult life like it was back in college. But you can mix it with just Coke.
There's a name for it. It's a cocktail.
Yeah, there is, and I never remember what it's called.
I mean, it's been a thing long enough that.
Okay. I have never.
I mean, we don't need to go into how long it's been since we were in college, but it has been a thing at least that long.
No, but like red wine and Coke has been a thing since like the 1950s.
Yeah, it's an old standing thing.
Okay, I have never heard of this. I am happy. I don't know what to think about.
Consider yourself fortunate that you have never needed to get rid of a bottle of red wine bad enough without pouring it down the sink.
Maybe it was just that like I like wine, and so then I never had this problem of like I would just drink the wine.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it might be older than the 50s, but I definitely know people that grew up in the 60s whose parents did it, right? You know what I mean?
Okay, so I mean that makes
grandparents and great grandparents that did it. So I don't know if it was a thing before Prohibition, and I can't remember the name of the drink, but it is a real thing. Red wine and Coke, and it's probably one of those summer things, like you were saying with sangria. People trying to find ways to drink sangria. I wonder if this thing came about because I know people have mixed sangria and coconut milk before. I think is what I've seen before.
I have seen that too.
Yep. So if people are like, "Ooh, sweetened condensed milk's just like coconut milk,"
I mean, I
mean, it's not, but
yeah, exactly. I disagree with them there, but also there's like key ingredients in sangria that aren't just there if you just take a bottle of red wine.
Yeah, the ice exactly. I don't know, but I see how you get there of thinking, you know what I want is something like a milkshake texture, but all I have is.
No. You see how they got there is they have TikTok on their phone and they needed to make something to trend.
Yeah.
See ruling number one. Is that what we're pointing people back to?
Don't food for the gram.
Exactly. And I mean that's old now. Like you don't do food for TikTok, I guess also, right?
No, well, when we said the gram, it was like the clout, right? Don't food for the clout.
I'm emphasizing that we're a bunch of boomers on this podcast, basically, and people need to understand where we're coming from.
It's okay to appreciate good things and say that bad things look bad.
Well, yeah, that's why we're talking about this drink.
So I think that's an easy skip from all the rest of us.
Yeah.
But I want to hear more about a place where they would never serve you red wine and condensed milk. Andy, how was your trip to Napa?
I mean, they would probably serve you red wine and condensed milk with something else.
Yes, but not mixed with each other.
No, not
Separately.
mixed with each other. Yeah, separately. I haven't been to Napa in a long, long time. It's been over a decade.
So when do you think was the last time you were there?
JJ, it may have been the last time you and I went.
Andy, I'm going to tell you that's quite a bit longer than a decade.
I know. I'm trying to think if we've been in the interim. I know we've done Sonoma in the interim multiple times, but Napa's gone through some weird changes.
Yeah, it's real different.
The wine industry in general, COVID really changed a lot of stuff. Michael, you can't just wander in places and ask for a tasting. When we first started out, it was like, I'll just drive up the road and just stop where you feel like having a drink.
Yeah. Yep.
Now the whole thing is you got to like plan your trip in advance and pay for reservations at wineries, and
everywhere charges. Nothing is free.
Everything's an experience. So you sit down and you taste anywhere from 3 to 17 wines, depending on where you are.
Yep.
And they're all going to pour you real heavy because
Sure.
you can only go 3 places in a day now because you have to make reservations. So, and they know that, and they know they've got you for 2 hours, and they know they're going to try and get you liquored up so you buy more wine at the end of it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, also you're paying like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100 for this experience. They don't want you to feel like you got ripped off if you get 3 small pours of wine, right? They want to give you some good.
If you're only doing reservations, then word of mouth suddenly becomes everything, right? If word gets out that you've got small pours and people aren't getting their money's worth, those reservations are going to dwindle.
Yeah, it's possible. Some places just have a name, right? And they don't really care.
Sure.
I think.
Napa in general trades on its name a lot, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happens.
What's funny is that they trade on their name, and they have for years, on pricing for bottles and stuff like that. But the general feeling that we used to have going there was like, oh my God, it's a $200 bottle of wine, right? Now, their prices have stayed roughly flat up in Napa Valley. They still have $70, $100, $200 bottles of wine at most of these places. But if you used to buy Santa Barbara wines at $20 a bottle, they also went through all these exact same changes that the rest of the wine industry, including in Napa, did. So their bottles are now $50, $70, $100 bottles, and you also have to go there with reservations. So while Napa had that reputation, Napa was a little bit harder to get in, and the prices are a little bit more sticker shocky. Not so much anymore was our experience this trip, for sure.
You have matured into its price range.
God, oh no, we're the target demographic.
Yes, you are. Welcome.
We also tried out Carneros area, which is new for us. A lot of different. I
have not been to that region in probably 20 years or something. How did you like that area?
Carneros was a lot of freewheeling fun.
All right, great.
They seemed to be the much more like, let's hang out crowd, and still had to do reservations everywhere, but wanted you there for a while. Weren't super stuffy about all the tastings and the pours and timing and how long you're there and all that sort of stuff. It was just sort of like, oh yeah, we'll you'll sit over here. We'll try like 17 things,
Yeah, we felt that way. Last time we were up that way, we were actually in Healdsburg, which is two hills over basically from the Napa Valley, and felt the same way about that. right? Like the further you go from Napa, the more relaxed things are, and the prices come down a little bit. But we had a great time over there. Like I think much more than we would have in Napa.
I think that's what I was getting at a little bit. Was I was prepped to be stressed by cost and put off by what my perception of Napa was it had grown into, and I was pleasantly surprised. 100%. I mean, we went and did some stuff that I've never done before. Some more history based stuff, like going to Chateau Montelena.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to go through all that. Like history. Everyone talks about it, right? Every single winery shares in the. In 1976, America became Napa Valley became the
Right.
domain, right?
Right.
So everyone kind of shares in the glory of that a little bit. Well, why not go to the place, right? That's the place. That or Stag's Leap, I guess, are your two options there. But Montelena is the famous one because it says chateau.
Right.
So we did some of that. That was a pretty good standout, and I'm pretty happy with most of it. We had more of a standout experience on food this time around. I guess it was also wine. Have you heard of the French Laundry?
Certainly, I have.
I don't think the rock that we've been living under is quite that large. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we have heard.
So JJ, you've also
maybe we
been
gotta
to
explain it to the people, right?
We do. We probably do have to explain it to the people. You've also been to a Michelin-starred restaurant, no?
I mean, the question
And
is
Michael,
how many stars, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. Michael, you've also been to a Michelin restaurant.
I don't know that I've been to a starred restaurant. I've definitely been to some Bib Gourmand places.
Bib Gourmand's good. Bib Gourmand's good. I want to know, maybe JJ, at some point, what the difference is between 1 star and 3 stars in terms of what you actually get.
Now I have been to a 1, a 2, and a 3.
Okay.
We did a 2
right.
while we were in San Francisco.
Oh.
I can tell you the thing that I struggle with is the difference between 2 and 3 more than the difference between 1 and 2 and 3.
Ooh. Okay. So French Laundry is a Thomas Keller restaurant in the city of Yountville. It's been there 30 years. This is its 30th year. And it is a 3-star Michelin restaurant. They focused on like a 10-course chef's menu, basically. They say it's 10 courses, but it's really more like 13.
Of course.
Not really,
Yeah. There's like little things in between that don't count as courses, but you're still eating.
Yeah.
Palate cleanser and a mousse bouche, and
have this bitter chocolate bread that was baked at Bouchon just down the street, special for us, I guess maybe you tell me the differences between a 1 and a 3, and then I'll say whether or not I experienced some of these things at the 3, and then kind of give you a rundown of the French Laundry.
So, in my experience, the differences between the levels really all come down to volume of courses, the preparation of each individual plate, the ambiance of the restaurant, and the service of the restaurant. So, like, if you go to a 1-star Michelin restaurant, it may be that you don't notice how, it's not that much different from any other restaurant you might go to, but the food and the service are just really good. Right?
Attentive and flavor in terms of service is attentive.
Right.
And food is a cut above in terms of flavors and freshness and those sorts of things.
Yeah, quality, taste, everything, right? And from what I can tell, going from 1 to 2, or 1, you want to go all the way up to 3, like the differences seem to be, hey, put like 1/3 the number of tables in the restaurant, 10x the number of servers in the restaurant.
Oh my God.
And make the food and the courses flow together in such a way that you barely notice that things happen. You're just like sitting there and you just like casually put down your fork, and then people appear and like whisk the plate away without you having to like do anything. That's the kind of stuff that happens at 3-star restaurants.
I can guarantee that is the type of stuff that happens at 3-star restaurants. Michael.
Yeah.
When you walk in here, you can tell before you make it into the dining room that there are more employees than patrons.
Okay.
They had they have like a courtyard. In the courtyard, there's a like special events building over there where they have like big groups. You could see that they had special staff just standing by for the group so that it would not take away from the restaurant.
Okay. Yep.
You can see into the kitchen from the outside of the restaurant, not from the street, but from inside this secluded courtyard. You can see into the kitchen. I guarantee you there were as many chefs and sous chefs as there were probably the rest of the staff.
Did they let you go look through the kitchen later?
Yes.
That was one of the coolest things that I experienced in the 2 and 3-star restaurants.
Yes, at the end of our meal, we were like, cool, that was awesome. You guys are awesome. That was like the best experience ever. We're going to take off now. And they're like, no, you're not. I said, what? And they're like, come back to the kitchen. The chef wants to say hi. I was like, excuse me? We were there for an anniversary, so we might have gotten a little bit of more maybe attention, or maybe it's just being at a 3-star. You just feel like you're getting more attention. But
did they give you a gift?
Sure did.
That's also something I've experienced at 2 and 3-star restaurants. They give you some kind of thing to take home after the meal. Just like
I've
something.
Heard that's a very common. You don't go away empty-handed.
It was more than a few things.
Yeah, that might be the anniversary talk in there.
Yeah, it was like I think a lot of people left with like cookies and chocolates. We had sort of a bag. Like we saw groups leaving ahead of us that had finished their meals, and they had little white boxes. And I'm pretty sure in the little white boxes were these little handmade chocolates that they say the chocolates take 3 days to make.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. They like form the chocolate the first day, then they paint the chocolates the next day, then they glaze the chocolates the third day. That's just for the final. That's for the final non-course.
That's for your doggy bag. Yeah, that's not even part of the meal.
Yeah, that's what people were taking home as a non-course. Oh, and like handmade shortbread cookies for no reason. After you've already finished eating. Yeah, so you walk in and it's like, hey, there are 2 people here to greet you. We already know your name. We know, we know where you're going to sit. You can see them prepping the tables. They steam the new place settings on the table, like right then and there.
Yeah, so don't want to get wrinkled in transit.
Nothing's creased or anything like that, The place settings are always perfect, and they're, like JJ was saying, they're removed and replaced before you even have a chance to like set down your fork from being done. By the end of the evening, we knew most of the service staff pretty well because they're always at your table. And it's not just your server. It's not just the som. It's not just the maitre d' who also keeps checking on you throughout the rest of the meal. And it's not the 3 or 4 people who aren't bussers. There's no bussers, right? Like, there's nobody that's just like bussing your food. There's like servers also that are not necessarily your server that'll just show up and be like, oh yeah, I'm serving this course. Hi, this is what it is. And then they'll come back and you'll be like, what are you doing? And they're cleaning up after you also. And it's
yeah, like, did you accidentally drop a bit of food on the table? No problem, sir. They have a special utensil that they use to like scrape the table clean.
Yeah. There was no spillage of any of our food at all.
So my next question for you was going to be, I'll break it into 2 pieces. What was your favorite bite and what was your favorite pairing?
So you mean like wine pairing or food?
So single favorite bite, irrespective of the wine that was paired with it, and then best combination of food with wine.
Oh, okay. I've had Wagyu before. It's not uncommon to find on a menu. I don't know how they did it as big a piece as they did, as perfectly as they did it. That if it was just like a single bite of something. But Michael, I don't know how you set those things aside when you have truffle mac and cheese that is literally an entire shaved truffle.
I saw the video of the shaving of the truffle. Pretty sure you could put one of your kids through college with what they put on that mac and cheese.
I literally said out loud, are you supposed to still be going? And she's like, yeah, we're good. And she just kept shaving it. It came in a humidor.
Yep.
Wow.
This is very much like when we went to Addison. They had something very similar.
Yeah. I mean, every dish is perfect. They're always exactly the same, probably, right? What is that shape? It's called a cannelle.
A cannelle. Mm-hmm.
Everything that should be cannelled is perfectly cannelled, right? And that helps you get the perfect bite. And I think, there's like the opening dish, which was oysters and caviar together in this like cream.
Okay.
With tapioca.
Sounds great.
All right.
Oh my God. Right? Like if you that was probably my best bite, and then you move on to the next thing, you're like, that might be my best bite. There were some of the simplest things are some of the best things. Like there was a macadamia nut that was like chocolate encrusted macadamia nut, but they had hand toasted the macadamia nut before chocolate encrusting it. Like, who does that?
I mean, yeah, that sounds real good.
Yeah, I mean that to me, as someone who enjoys home cooking, is one of the best parts of the meal at a fancy restaurant is just the technique on display, and the technique and the creativity. Like, who would ever think of doing this?
What's funny is that at most French or fancy dining that I've experienced, I think some of the stuff has seemed so superfluous, right? Like presentation seems superfluous because the food is just a giant mass of food in the end, right? Even though it's well plated or whatever. Like an osso buco at an Italian restaurant can only be so well plated before you realize it's just a mess of meat, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had gotten, they did not have osso buco here, but if you had gotten osso buco here, it would have been such a small portion that the plating design would have been perfect in the idea of giving you the exact flavors at the exact time you're supposed to try them.
There's nothing to hide behind. Everything is pared down and refined to the point where each of the individual ingredients just sort of really shines.
I think
I'm overwhelmed thinking about the meal, like trying to remember the meal and all of it, like perfectly.
I think it's a you know, like food as an art form almost, right? Like the constant
100%.
the constant joke about like fancy restaurants is, oh, the portions are so tiny, ha ha ha. Yeah, but there's like 14 courses. If they gave you more than 3 bites, you would die.
You'd never make it.
Right.
I did only get 3 bites, and I
It's
honestly
still,
felt like I was
yeah,
going to die at the end of
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. All this is, I will agree with you, Andy. Every time I have been to a 2 or 3 star place, which to be fair is once each, um, there was by the end there was so much food that we were asking them to like, can you like not give us this? Like we're too full. Like, can we take this home? And they're like, yes, of course, no problem, sir. And then when you leave, they give you a doggy bag full of like every course you didn't have packaged individually in some unbelievable way.
Do you
But
know
it
the size of a quail?
no. Why would I know that?
Do you know how small and delicate a quail is?
Yes.
These guys somehow layered a red pepper paste underneath quail skin, in between the quail skin and the meat, that was as thick as the meat, the layer of the injected, I assume injected red pepper paste that was in there. The skin was still perfectly crisp. It looked like it had been there forever.
Yeah.
And a quail is very small.
No. Now I want Romesco quail. There
That
we are.
sounds really good.
I mean, it was mind blowing. It is food art, absolutely, and more memorable than most of the meals. I mean, a lot of the meals I've been to, I'll remember because of the company or the event, or just hanging out, or knowing I like the quality of a food at a restaurant. Right? Like, okay, well, Morton's Steakhouse has decent food. Like, it's well prepared most of the time. The portions are extremely large. You know what you're gonna get when you go in there, and it's gonna be of a decent quality. Right? No messing around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like when we sat down there, it was to be treated like someone that appreciates the theory of cooking, that appreciates the extreme work that goes into preparing something over and over perfectly. It's like watching like a professional athlete or something like that, right? Like, they have to do this thing perfectly over and over and over and over and over all night, every night,
Mhm.
to get a Michelin star. And it's not just the people in the kitchen that are standing there sweating over how to get this quail onto the plate perfectly without breaking any of it, and then also plate it with all these other tiny little microgreens and other things that are on there. Have them look identical to each other across from 2 people at a table. But for the people around that experience, like the Somm that we had, where we said, I mean, I don't know how to pair anything with this menu. And he's like, no problem, I got you. And for all the wines to be selected perfectly, to hit a palate where we said, I like this and I don't like that. I like this and I don't like that. Okay, no issue. And to then still have a whole restaurant to be doing that for, and then still be on top of your table before your glass is empty. It's amazing. It's a whole nother level of service and attention to idiosyncratic detail that I don't think a lot of people could understand or appreciate without seeing it. I thought the Michelin star thing over 1 star would be kind of oh, really, what's the difference? If the food's good, the food's good. I've never seen a meal prepared with that much care and attention. And the idea of putting an experience like that first. It's not like they put the food out there and just said, like, look how perfect it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They put you at the center of the experience by making sure there's 4 people paying attention to your table that you're not even noticing until all of a sudden everything that you had in front of you is gone and something else is there next, and they're telling you what it is. And
the number one thing that really got me at Addison, the place that we went to, was the restaurant as you walk in looks empty. Like as you're walking in and going to your table, it doesn't look like, I mean, yeah, there's a couple of tables, but they're like way over there. And there's it doesn't look like there's anyone there. And then you sit down and out of closets, I don't know, these people materialize to then do, the service of the meal. And then, after they have explained everything to you and done, you didn't talk about that, Andy. Did they give you like a little presentation and like teach you fun facts and things about the meal?
I would say they explained every dish as in the beginning very little, and then as we clearly wanted more detail, I think they began to realize like we were interested in each dish, and we got more and more detail as the thing went on. What really struck me that what you just said is there are probably 20 tables in the whole restaurant, maybe more, but from where we were sitting, we could only see 3, maybe 4. And we were in a corner of the restaurant. But the attention and the deftness and the quickness of things made it feel like we were in the center of the whole restaurant and that everyone was making sure, right? Like that table is the most important table. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know how other people in the restaurant felt. It must be that same feeling for a lot of people. There must be that feeling that they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that God, we've been talking about this so dang long. I'm so sorry.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack.
It is an evening of an experience that is just out of this world in terms of the difference between that and what you might think as a fancy restaurant.
Yeah,
it's not about food entirely. It is entirely about food, right? You know what I mean? But it's just about, I don't know.
It's an experience, right? It's something you sort of have to do to understand, I feel.
Yeah.
I think
I'm going to have to process it for days, I think.
I think some of that is then also commensurate with the price tag. So I'm sure it was.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like, when you start talking about food on the level of your mortgage or rent payment, like it's, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you add wine onto that and you're definitely in mortgage territory.
For sure. Well, why don't we stay at the pinnacle of civilization and JJ give us the rundown on Civ 7?
I'm actually gonna swerve here because was the pinnacle of civilization? Was the pinnacle of civilization? We could come back to Civ 7, but wasn't the best of times back when you guys were young and we were playing Oregon Trail?
No, the best
on the
of
PCs
times
at
was
school?
The worst of times.
That's where my brain went to, man. You always ford the river. Get out of here with that caulking the wagon.
Without caulking the wagon? Are you crazy?
No, you ford the river.
Bro, the river is deeper than the wagon. You're just going to sink.
Yeah, you're going to lose your oxen.
Nah, your boat's going to tip.
And then all the oxen and all the supplies are gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Trail's awesome.
I don't know what possessed my wife of this, but she decided we needed to play Oregon Trail again.
Which one?
The Switch version.
The what?
Huh?
Yeah.
Explain.
Did you know?
Because hold on. I have installed DOSBox and done this also, but I did not know what you're about to say.
Yeah, well, you didn't install this. I'll go ahead and tell you. This is a modern version of Oregon Trail.
What's modern, Precious?
Well, I mean, the idea of the Oregon Trail is still there, right? You definitely at certain points go fishing, you hunt, for various animals. People can get dysentery.
Is it the same hunting though? Is it the good hunting where you just have a reticle and you're just blowing everything out of the water and then you have way too much meat?
It's not that, I'll say. You're a little character walking around on a screen and you got your stick, one to move the character and the other to move the reticle, and you got to hit those animals. And they're all moving at crazy angles, which is really frustrating when you can't walk that fast.
What in the world am I looking at here? Is there a house that you build?
No.
Okay, somebody posted funny pictures on this.
So I will.
Oregon Trail page.
I can only say it. So this is the other thing. This game is way bigger than that old game was, which I mean does make some sense, right? This is 2024. Those games where they went back to the Apple II, that's a.
I don't know that I want it to be bigger.
Well, but it is both bigger and not bigger, right? It's like you pick your party of 4 people, but your people have stats. They have, different characteristics.
Oh, I don't need all that.
Do my children have stats?
I haven't seen it. I've encountered children on the trail. There have not been any in my party, so I can't answer that.
Oh, you can't. You don't. Didn't you always have children in your party in the old games?
I think you would take certain numbers of people, and then they would, there would just be children added sometimes that you didn't ask for. But in this case, no, it is, just your group of 4 people. You buy your supplies and you set out on the trail, and as you go along, you break a wheel, your supplies run low. You
grabbed extra wheels, I assume.
Well, you got to have a few. I mean,
axles. The problem was axles; they were too heavy.
Yeah, and too big. They took up too much space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here is the craziest and the most genius thing I think about this Oregon Trail game. Okay, so you got all these supplies, right? You got your wagon. In the old games, it was just weight that was the problem, right? If you buy the axles, the axles weigh friggin' 150 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be able to carry that.
Behind.
Right. Yeah. You leave all your food and then you starve. Right?
No, because you can shoot a bison and you got enough meat.
You better hope you find one. Right? When you're in the Ozarks or whatever, there aren't the Ozarks are where the bison are. When you're in the Blue Mountains, not so many out there, right?
Right. Rabbits.
Yeah. Hunting be not as good when you get to the end of the trail.
Bullets ain't got no weight.
That's not true anymore.
No.
Because here's the thing. The thing that's genius about this game is the weight of the wagon and what you're carrying is not really the concern anymore. They turn the wagons. And you remember there's you could buy bigger and smaller wagons that could carry more weight and stuff before?
Well, that's in the newer games.
Yeah, in the newer ones,
the
they added
92
that.
version did not have different wagons.
So in this one, your wagon is basically an inventory screen like Resident Evil with a bunch of squares, and all the items are various irregular shapes.
Diablo
so there's no
management.
So it's not how heavy the tongue is. The tongue is a straight 4-piece, in Tetris.
Oh no.
And the meat is a nice perfect square. Wonderful. But when you buy flour, the flour has a little sticky uppy bit that's really annoying to try and fit into a whatever, Or when you get the fish are an oblong rectangle. So, or the, what was the other one? The axle? The axle is the Z piece. And so then you have to play inventory Tetris all the time, trying to fit all this stuff in there. And then that's on top of, as you're going along and your wagon is breaking down, certain pieces of your inventory become unusable.
Oh,
that's genius. I love it.
It is the most genius idea, I think, in this whole game. The rest of it is they turned it kind of into a party RPG, and there are quests and stuff. But making the weight.
I don't want to do quests. My quest is to get to Oregon.
Right, exactly. And the stuff is very light. It's just fun stuff to do while you're traipsing along. But the idea that now you're your weight and the thing you have to manage is the inventory. And like, oh, randomly, there's a hole in the bottom of your wagon now. Hey, did you have something stored there? It falls out. I hope you got a space to repack. And like, you have to go back into the screen and like try and figure out how to Tetris all this stuff together to constantly make it fit.
I think
Oh,
that's when
man.
you decide you're halfway through your journey and you might not need that extra axle.
You know, you're like, or maybe it's time to turn up the rations so that we just finish this thing of food off and we don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
Surprisingly fun, I'll say, for like what I assumed was going to be a like boring Oregon Trail edutainment type game.
I mean, the children here loved the old Oregon Trail game. So, do you think this is more accessible than those old ones?
There's certainly a lot more like color and pictures and stuff going on here. There's a little bit of more modern politics involved too. You know, the Indians are kind of your friends. No, this is a good thing.
Oh,
as opposed to like previous politics where like you're shooting the Indians. This is, you know, the Indians are your friends. You know, they kind of they'll help you along the way. You can try and help them sign a peace treaty, and then they kind of get to the end. They're like, well, don't know if this is going to work out. And you're like, yeah, I know. Sorry, guys. I tried. You know, it's like, you know, it's just modern sensibilities a little bit in that way. But the game, it seems very fun. You know, like my guy still falls and breaks his leg. You know, the events you run into on the trail all hit various hidden stats on your characters. And the other thing is you don't know the stats on your characters until you like encounter the thing and try it, right?
Do people still get dysentery though?
Oh, you can absolutely get dysentery. Yeah.
There you go.
One of my people got cholera from trying to drink from a stream. Party. That was a big mistake. I was lucky that I had some medicine and I had to it decreased the amount of time they had cholera by like, you know, some percentage or whatever. Then I could use a bunch of the herbal remedy berries that I found along the way to keep them from dying, basically. You know, and then you get to your forts at the end and you can spend your money to upgrade you know, heal your people up, repair your wagon, all that stuff. And then
I'm watching this video and they tried to ford the river, Michael. The graphics are good enough now that I would never try. That was horrific to watch all those oxen drown.
Oh no.
All those oxen literally just died right in front of my eyes.
They tell you
at least in the past it was just text.
I will tell you, they tell you your chance of success of fording or caulking the wagon and floating it at various points. And then they give you the option of like, yeah, you know, you could just wait here and see if it gets better. And so every time I tried to cross the river, it was a game of like, how long do I want to wait? Because these conditions are bad, you know?
Yeah.
You get to like, well, the river was extreme and the rapids were intense. And now it's like the river is moderate and the rapids are medium. Is this good enough? Should we try it or do we wait and hope it gets better? I don't know. It's only like 60% chance that we make it across. It's still not very good.
Oh no.
You know, so all that stuff. Really fun, like surprisingly fun. I think, Andy, your kids would get a kick out of it. There's a lot of reading, but, you know, hey, this is I
mean, it's Oregon Trail. There was always a lot of reading.
Yeah, that's not new.
Yeah. You know, very historical stuff. You can talk to all the townspeople. They'll tell you little facts, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, really enjoyed that randomly out of the blue. You know, my partner decided like, hey, we're going to do this and here, you should play some too. And I was like, all right, I guess I can humor you with this. And then I was like, actually, this is pretty fun.
So this is mine now.
Very nice. So, and at the end of the trail, JJ, was there Daybreak?
Ooh, yes. Yes, but not in the way that Andy thinks.
I want to hear it.
Trails from the Sky.
Nope.
Route Zero. Daybreak Dawn.
Trails into Daybreak is the name of the game, Andy.
That's right.
I'll probably get that one.
I will say this has been a great jumping off point on a new one of these, you know. It's been really fun to like meet the new cast of characters, like learn the new systems a little bit. And
How connected are we talking about here to all these other trails? I mean, it's still part of the same story, according to that guy.
yeah, it is. But like, this is the beginning of a new arc, right? So different protagonist, different country, you're still meeting people from the old games. There's, undercurrents of things happening, but you're back at like a local level here a little bit. I say a little bit because you're definitely still traveling to other towns and stuff.
It's not the one block RPG.
I don't know what you mean by that.
It's still a large world scoping RPG.
Yeah, I mean, you're meeting the new character Van Arkwright, which is his name.
Wow,
it's
great RPG names.
These games are anime as heck, you guys.
like, wow.
A young assistant that you meet, who comes to hire you for a job, and she has a secret past, and there's technology and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. It's a Trails game. But yeah, I'm really liking it. Michael, you may be interested to hear the way the new orbment system works in this game.
So I've heard little bits, but lay it out for me.
So, in the previous Trails games, there were like various ways you would set your little crystals in your little device that would allow you to use magic of various sorts. And the types of crystals that were in there depended on the types of magic you could do.
Yes, exactly.
In this game, there are, they call them plugins, and they're basically like swappable sets that you can trade in and out that have like a list of spells assigned to the set. And then as you level that set up, it unlocks a couple of more spells. And then usually each of the sets have a few unlockable slots at the bottom for, you could slot in anything you want. So you really have a much more limited set of spells you can cast because, the sets are like 5 total spells or whatever, right? Okay. Plus your 1 or 2 free choices. And they all are like, so far at least, I'm only in like a couple chapters in, but, they're all themed. So it's like, oh, this is the fire set and this one is the water set and, stuff like this. So you can't just like have, well, I want like fire 3 and ice 3 and heal 3 and that kind of stuff, right? There's not, there's no combination like that, right? You can get like, okay, well, I can have like 3 fire spells, a space spell, and a buff, and then I have to slot in like a couple heals if I want them, and then that's it for that character.
Okay.
You get up to 4 characters in battle, which is pretty similar to the other stuff. But I think one of the really great innovations this game has is there is both like active battle that is, on the field without going into turn-based, and then a button you can hit to like basically start turn-based combat.
Oh, fascinating. So they've got both for you. Do you have to do both at different times, or can you stick to one or the other?
Certainly you're forced into turn-based combat for like bosses and things like that, but you can fight the enemies on the field by yourself and just like, dodge out of the way and press buttons. You get a button for dodging.
Yep.
But in general, I'll say you get a lot more experience and like the multipliers from going into turn-based combat.
Oh, they don't just change like the physical way the combat is happening. They change the actual experience from the combat.
So outside of the turn-based combat, you only have like an attack move, a dodge move. You have like I forget what they call it, some kind of move on the trigger that basically like does like a big single hit, right? That usually stuns the enemies for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or it builds a stun meter a lot if it doesn't stun them all the way. And then you have a button that engages the turn-based combat, basically.
Wow.
And, if you engage turn-based while they're stunned, you get a bunch of bonuses and some free damage. And, you get to take a bunch of turns before they go, stuff like that, right? But you don't have to. You can then just sit there and wail on them in the like active combat and kill them. And you still get rewards for that. And it could be a great way to get rid of like swarm of bats or whatever, right?
Sure, yeah, that you don't need to dive into.
But if there's like, a giant monster or something, you'll typically want to, get a few hits in, try and get a stun, and then start the turn-based combat so that you get that little bonus few turns there. Very interesting. And I've been like, it really speeds up like the process of exploring dungeons and stuff when you don't have to fight the swarm of 15 bats or whatever every time. You can just mash A and kill all of them.
That's nice, especially if you have to be running back and forth across the same area multiple times.
Okay, well, if that's nice, then why put it in? Maybe just don't make me fight a bunch of bats.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can just run around the bats too. That's typically an option. I mean, they're just right. You're just right there. All you have to do is hit A few times and they die, right?
Right. Yeah, XP.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
XP.
And like some of the more recent games, doing certain actions in battle increases the multiplier you get at the end. So it's like, oh, this, you kill this enemy, it's worth 100 XP, but you did a perfect dodge and you started the attack while they were stunned, and various other things you do add that multiplier up to. You can get 2, 3, 4x experience.
Yeah, exactly.
4x.
Yes, 4x. So we'll talk about 4x here in a little bit, but I think
maybe we have to save it for next time.
Yeah, maybe we should, I guess. But yeah, the game's been great so far. I really like this cast of characters. I think it's nice to have a main character in an anime type game that is older than 21.
Hey,
and like
it's going to be whether they act older than 21 is going to be the thing.
They are constantly called old by all their companions, so there's that.
Now we're talking target demographic.
Yeah. But they are they're like established in the world already. They're not just like, I'm the new guy to town or whatever. So it's nice to sort of inhabit the shoes of someone who already knows what's going on to some degree.
Yeah, that's nice to sidestep a common trap.
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been really enjoying the cast so far, so I'm very interested in where the rest of this goes. Currently, we're off in one of the towns in Calvard. This game takes place in the Calvard state at a movie festival, running protection basically for some of the movie stars who various anime trope reasons are hired us to do a job for them.
Nice.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's been a good one.
I like it. And I don't know if I don't know if I actually sent you the article, but I was just reading an article where they are making Falcom is making a big push to try and speed up the pace that the Trails games get translated, so that there is less waiting time between the Japanese and the Western releases.
That's good, because I think this game is several years old at this point, from the Japanese side. I think the sequel to this game has already come out in Japan.
I believe so, and it's due out here pretty soon.
Oh, okay. That's great to hear that they're moving it. Yeah, but the quality of the PC port is, I'm playing on PC. The quality of the PC port is fantastic. It's been handled by the same people that have been doing these Falcom ports for quite a while now. So literally no possible complaints. It has more options than almost every AAA game at this point. So, really, really quality port, runs at a hard fixed 60, but if I wanted to run it at 144 and turn the settings down a little bit, I think there would be no issues.
Nice. A studio that actually knows what the people want and gives it to them.
Yeah. Big shout out to, I think PH3 is the name of the people that do these ports.
Yes.
Yeah. Some true, like the best PC ports in the business, I would say.
They've got some great stuff running. All right. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll save. Yeah, let's save Civ for next week.
It seems reasonable.
Maybe I will get more stuff before then, and JJ can surprise me with all of it.
There was a big stream that happened that I didn't get to watch too much of. So,
Ooh,
yeah, we'll talk some COTC next week too. There's the next Tavern Talk is on Monday next week. So,
so that would be even better.
Yeah, we'll have a couple of things to go into.
And people won't have to listen to me ramble about the French Laundry for 40 minutes.
But it was awesome, so I think it was
Dude,
fun.
That's the content that I'm here for, Andy.
You guys, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where like a specific question will jog my memory about something else. It was so detailed. Amazing.
I after having experienced it once, I am of the opinion everyone should do it once in their lives. I don't know how more than that you need to do it, but it's completely worth doing.
Mm-hmm. Much like emailing us.
Andy, where would they send those emails?
podcast@weweregamers.com, or you could leave a comment at youtube.com/@weweregamers. I promise I will meticulously review your comment. Put a little microgreens with it.
The response will be up before you even knew that you'd posted.
Very good, Michael.
That is
very good.